Hola. So before we go to our next very juicy parable and then on to the cultivation of great loving kindness, I'd like to go back to the very beginning. It's good to do that frequently, repeatedly. In the very beginning is settling body, speech, and mind in the natural state. It becomes so familiar that we can turn it into an empty ritual. Just do a little flyby and never touch down into the actual practice. It's very easy to do, I understand. But if the body, speech, and mind are not established in there or settled in the state of equilibrium, of balance, whatever we do with our body, speech, or mind is not going to go out well. It will not turn out well over the long term. The start off, the initial launch didn't happen correctly. What I really want to get to here is something I hope will be very helpful, and that is people here in Tuscany, people listening by podcast. I imagine there are a number of you for whom the body is still giving rise to upheavals or perhaps persistent chronic tightnesses, difficulties, and so forth. And that can be very challenging. I know it very well from my own experience. Where medical interventions can be helpful, by all means take advantage. We always want to be sensible, feet on the ground. Hedonia is kind of our practical basis for the cultivation of eudaimonia, so you never want to overlook that or marginalize it, whether it's physiotherapy, whether it's supplements, whether it's kumye or different types of massage, whether it's yoga, whether it's tai chi, whatever we can do, coming from the outside in, including an orthopedic pillow or maybe another bed. I mean, there's all kinds of things. By all means, do it. By all means, if you can approach it and deal with it successfully, hedonically, that is coming from outside, fantastic. And if it goes away, fantastic. But sometimes that's not sufficient. Or even, if it's not sufficient, then that's where the settling body, speech, and mind comes into play. And that is learning. It's a skill to be learned. I cannot overemphasize this. It's a skill to be learned. How to be present in the body, fully, mindfully present in the body, and to be at ease, to be relaxed. To let your body be still, not fidgeting, but utterly still. And then at the same time, even if it's only kind of a psychological posture, even if you're in the supine position, which is again emulating a corpse, mentally, psychologically vivid, vigilant, this is your posture of vigilance. And you look like a corpse, fine. Or if you're sitting upright, good. Sitting upright, excellent. But the one I really wanted to get to is the next one. Settling the speech in its natural state, and I'm going to go right to it. Settling the respiration into natural rhythm. Where there is lingering tightness or constriction or problems in the body that really seem to be of an energetic level, then, again, I'll say it again, any help you can get from the outside, fantastic, go for it. But from the inside, there is a great power, and some of you have already been discovering this, in the body to heal itself, and heal itself energetically by way of the breath. This can be done with high-tech methods, as in pranayama and salon practices. And if you have a very good teacher and ongoing monitoring, that can be very, very good. That's it. I have nothing more to say. Very good. But if you have a teacher who's not that good, or if you don't have ongoing monitoring, it can be very dangerous. It can really harm you. Yeah? But this practice of settling your respiration in its natural rhythm, well, I just can't even imagine how that can be dangerous. To allow you, then it would be dangerous to fall asleep. Look out. If you fall into deep dreamless sleep, your body just might breathe without your helping it along, without your managing and monitoring and controlling it. Oh, don't fall asleep, The body doesn't know how to breathe, except it does. And so allowing, while fully conscious and very mindfully aware of the breath, allowing the breath to flow. Now, the quality of attention is crucial. Please listen to this as if you've never heard it before. We, especially in the modern world, but we didn't invent this, we're very dense and grasping. We're really kind of heavy-minded. All this issue of, Very young, too young. Europe was the only continent that decided it had a right to claim every other continent at its own. That's really quite something. Australia, New Zealand, South America, North America, the Near East, Africa, most of Asia, they just came and they say, if we saw it, it's ours. I'm surprised the Americans haven't claimed the moon. Really. We planted a flag on it. Look out. It's a slippery slope. I think we should probably just claim it for ourselves. We got there first, right? I'm getting here to an attitude that is kind of like pushy, dominant, grasping, egotistical. It's egotistical. And it's not only us Eurocentric people, and of course I'm just exactly an instance of that, but it is strong. So what I'm getting at, having lived a long time in Asia with Tibetans and with Sri Lankans and with Indians, is classically, in their cultures at their best, there's a softer touch. There's a softer touch of awareness. And so when we attend to the body, or for that matter, when we attend to the mind, it's very easy to attend to it as if our awareness is like a lightning bolt. I'm now going to watch my thoughts. Like we're Zeus, sitting on Mount Olympus watching the thoughts come up. And they're skeet. We blow them away one by one. Just by the sheer intensity. Cringe. You're supposed to cringe. You're supposed to run away. Yeah. Obviously I make a cartoon out of this, but there's something to this. And then we go into the body and we start throwing thunderbolts into our body, like they're piercing out of our forehead. There's not just one person here, it's more than one. And then the sheer act of observing the body becomes disruptive. So what I'm suggesting is, as you attend to the space of the body, and you're allowing, and this is really a skill, you're learning how to breathe egolessly, and that doesn't come naturally. If we are observing something carefully that we can control, we control it. If we Europeans go into an unexplored territory and we can take it over, we do it. That's what we do. Other people come for a visit. We come and just take over, And so, when you're attending to the space of the body, let it be as if the space of your body itself is illuminating that space. Rather than piercingly attending to it, like with thunderbolts of attention, into the body, coming down from the head, let the whole space of your body, down to the soles of your feet, through the legs, through the torso, and then up into the head, but mostly overwhelmingly come down into the torso, into the legs, into the limbs. Let that space be, as it were, self-illuminating. Diffuse, not fuzzy, vague, or spaced out, but diffused, and not, there's the symbol, not that, not the fist, not hammering in, not piercing in, but just spaciously aware. This is why in Dzogchen, the initial teachings say, now let your eyes be open, and let your awareness be evenly released into space, right? This is just the opposite of thunderbolts. This is just space itself becomes luminous. Space illuminates itself. The difference between subject and object melts away. So what I would suggest, because of course we're now in the home stretch of our retreat, and some of you I may never see again, I don't know, who knows the future. But when you're going home, then be persistent with this one. The power of settling the mind in its natural state cannot be overestimated. And that's the healing capacity of your own Buddha nature, for heaven's sakes. It's not just your brain function or genetics. It's your allowing, by not getting in the way, the many wounds, the knots, the tightnesses, the constrictions, blockages of the mind, to melt away as you bring this very frankly feminine, if I can use that in the best possible term, or say yin, that yin quality of awareness that's attentive, that's loving, not jumping in there to intervene and control and take over. Very attentive, very present, but just letting it be, and then watching the mind heal in that same way is with that quality of awareness, and it's a very special quality of awareness that is not identifying with or standing in judgment of, trying to terminate or trying to perpetuate, you know the drill. That same quality that allows your mind to heal all the way to the dissolution of the mind into the substrate consciousness. The dissolution of anger into luminosity, of craving into bliss, and delusion into non-conceptuality. That same quality of awareness, when applied to the body, allows the blockages, the tightness, the warping, and the constrictions and so forth of the body to release of their own accord. Allow the body to settle in its natural state as you allow the mind to settle in its natural state. And allow the breathing to settle in its natural rhythm, which is the facilitator to heal both the body and the mind. It's the intermediary, right? Prana is right there between flesh and the intangible, immaterial mind. Be persistent, be gentle, and allow your body to heal. Allow your respiration to flow. And I'll tell you what it's like. From Padmasambhava, I think it's from him, quite sure. Your respiration has settled in its natural rhythm when it flows gently, rhythmically, and imperceptibly. That's when it's settled. And until then, just as you don't try to fix your mind, keep on fixing, allow the mind to heal itself. Allow your body to heal itself by way of the breathing. And that's when you know, you've settled in that sinusoidal pattern, and my guess is you might be considering 15 cycles per minute. And then rest there. And then you're ready to listen to a parable about Buddha nature. Okay? And it's a nice short one. So here's an introduction. Here's on page 87. Short, with no commentary from Karma Chagmé, so it's nice and to the point. The stories are so memorable. That's the great thing about them. An introduction to a parable and its meaning taught by Siddha Origen. It is said that in the land of India there was once a captain who owned a precious wish-fulfilling jewel from the outer ocean. Wish-fulfilling jewel, the existence of these have been taken very seriously by Indians and Tibetans for many centuries. And the idea is, it's something like, if we imagine extraterrestrials coming and leaving this super high tech and just dropping in the ocean, something like that, if we attended this playfully. I'm not asking you to believe it literally. Many people do. If you don't, I don't care, but it's a great parable. But a wish-fulfilling jewel is a jewel that when you treat it with respect, and as we'll see in the parable, and you direct your wishes to it, your hedonic wishes, that's all you get though. Hedonic wishes, wealth, property, blah, 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 hedonic wishes. It won't grant you enlightenment, but it will grant you all kinds of mundane things, right? That's a wish-fulfilling jewel. So there's a captain who owned a precious wish-fulfilling jewel from the outer ocean. They would go out, according to ancient lore, seafarers would go out into the deep ocean trying to discover a wish-fulfilling jewel, And so this was one of those lucky captains. He won the oceanic lottery. All his needs and desires were produced or fulfilled by this gem. And his household was very wealthy, prosperous, and luxurious. Eventually this captain passed away, and when his wife and children found all their wealth exhausted, they became very poor and destitute, and they went begging. Upon meeting with a friend of the captain, they told him what had happened to them. And the friend replied, "It's impossible for you to be destitute. What kinds of things do you have at home?" "We have nothing at all except for a smooth stone stashed between the folds of a cotton quilt," they replied. The friend took them back home, and after a careful search, the dirt-encrusted jewel was found beneath a pillow. Then the friend rinsed it with scented water, fastened it to the crest of a victory banner, and made immeasurable offerings, praises, and requests to it. It is said that as a result, all their needs and desires were bountifully fulfilled. Moreover, if it were not for the friend, the jewel would have been left beneath the pillow, and the mother and children would have starved to death. It really struck me, this issue of, because this is a classic presentation, that's what you do if you find a wish-fulfilling jewel. Immeasurable offerings, praises, and requests. Okay? Well, how many in Tibetan Buddhism, Indo-Tibetan Buddhism, Vajrayana Buddhism especially, but very much Mahayana in general, read Shantideva. Offerings, praises, and requests. Offerings. Offerings to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Offerings to the Guru. Offering to the Yidam. Offering to Dharma protectors. Offerings, offerings, offerings. Why are we doing that? As Jujum Limpa says, it's wonderful. If they're really receiving them, why don't they disappear off the altar? It's in the Vajra essence. If you really think you're offering something really cool to the Buddhas, then why don't they disappear the next morning? Like the reverse of Santa Claus. Santa Claus leaves you little gifts, then the Buddha should take your little gifts. And they say, "Oh, good, all the offering bowls are empty." Well, fill them up. They must be thirsty. But really, what on earth are we doing making these offerings? This is like sending food stamps to Bill Gates. Really. I can just see Bill, oh boy, we can eat today. We'll get some Wonder Bread and peanut butter. I mean, what are you thinking? Really. Who are you benefiting? What's this for? And then we have praise. Being attached to praise, wanting praise, is called one of the 8 mundane concerns. Get over it. And so we feel the Buddhists, they haven't been praised for a long time. Let's get together and give them some moral support. Oh, the Guru too. Let's praise the Guru. Because Ruma may be a little bit lonely and hasn't received praise much recently. So let's give him a good pep talk. Let's be the cheerleaders. Give us an S. Give us an A. Sangye. Cheer them up. Those Buddhas may be a little bit downcast today. Have to, encourage them. We think you're great. Come on, really. They need our praise? They need our praise? This is like Miss Piggy telling Angelina Jolie, you're really cute. And then supplications. We're told to do this hundreds and hundreds of times, as if they're hard of hearing. Like they're all sitting there. What was that again? They're all kind of senile and hard of hearing. I didn't say a bit louder if you would. Maybe 100,000 times. What are we doing? And the object of all these offerings and all this praise and all these supplications is the wish-fulfilling jewel of your own pristine awareness. And in that regard, this all makes enormous sense. The wish-fulfilling jewel is your Buddha nature, of course. And to offer it means, I value you more than anything else I have. Right? Including the lame goat. I give you all. This, to know you, is of greater worth. It is the pearl beyond all price, for which I make any sacrifice. That was a surprise. Didn't see that coming. And the praise. There are many things worthy of praise. Many things worthy of praise. But this worthy of the greatest praise. Buddha nature, Dharmakaya. And supplications. We're calling forth, the blessings of our own Buddha nature. So that's the parable. As in this parable, the ultimate reality of the mind, the ultimate reality of your own mind, the connate Dharmakaya, the inborn or connate Dharmakaya, is primordially present in you. It's already there. But it is like the jewel left beneath the pillow. As Gyatso Rinpoche summarized the whole Dzogchen view of the difference between, the second noble truth from the Dzogchen perspective. Why are we suffering? Why are we caught up in suffering and the causes of suffering? Because we're identifying with that which is identifying as I and mine, that which is not I and mine, and we fail to recognize who we are. Those two things. The first part is pan-Buddhism, identifying with that which is not I and mine, like my body, my mind, possessions, and so on. That's pan-Buddhism, all Buddhism. And the Dzogchen emphasis really then is, okay, have you cleared the decks? Have you cleared out, you're not Napoleon, you're not a kernel of corn? Have you cleared that? Have you gotten that clear? If you're clear of that, then you're ready. But only if you've done that are you ready to realize who you really are. Right? If you're still stuck on, still reifying, still identifying with, I am a sentient being. There's someone in here who really is a sentient being. The telephone booth is full. You can't get somebody else in there. It has to be cleaned out. Now, this is challenging. We know that. And I'm going to show the role of shamatha here. Now, let's go from the outside in. If you look into the mirror and you still see yourself, you're full. The telephone booth is full. If you look into that and you say, oh yes, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm white, I'm Asian, I'm black, whatever. Your telephone booth is full. If you think that's me, Okay, get back to the basics. You're not out of kindergarten yet, right? When you look at your thoughts, your minds, my mental afflictions, your telephone booth is full. They're not your mental afflictions. What do you think you are? LaSalle? I saw it, so therefore they're mine? What makes you think just because you see them, you're yours? That's silly. Nonsense. Right? To see that there's nothing in your mind that is you or by its own nature yours. It's merely a matter of convention. Like this is my cell phone. And your body is not you, and there's not one molecule of it that is yours, except for by mere convention. But then you may see that intellectually, which is not that hard. But then there's something which is not intellectual at all. You can't solve it by thinking clever thoughts. And that is if you have not overcome the habitual delusional tendency of cognitive fusion with your thoughts, the obsessive compulsive flow of delusional thinking, then the telephone booth is not only full, it's full with a very big, heavy person. Because every time a thought comes up, it's reaffirming, I'm a screwed up sentient being. That's its basic commentary. The root text is, I'm a screwed up sentient being, and the commentary is obsessive, compulsive, delusional, blah, 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 forever. And with the cognitive fusion, you keep on reaffirming, countersinking the nail, I'm a sentient being, my mind is screwed up, oh, my mind is agitated, my mind is, so exhausting. Unless you can release that cognitive fusion, you're never going to have any meaningful insight into the absence of yourself as a sentient being. Because every time it comes up and there's cognitive fusion, it's like, the little kid who thought he was a kernel of corn. It's like thinking you're Napoleon. You may figure it out, but if you just keep on thinking, going into the habit pattern of thinking as if you're Napoleon, it doesn't matter what you figure out intellectually, you're slipping right back into the same delusion. And I'm no more really a sentient being than I am a kernel of corn or Napoleon. You don't find any of them here. Equally, Napoleon, kernel of corn, and a real sentient being. And so this is where shamatha, if you don't develop shamatha, you're just going to be pecking at reality, having little flirtations with reality. But then the old chronic symptoms of the little boy, thinking he's a kernel of corn, will come right back in, right? And we work on this in two fronts in stage regeneration, and that is we do tend to fixate so strongly on ourselves as sentient beings because of how we look, and identifying very strongly with that. As you observe how you conceive of yourself, see sometimes the basis of designation is your body, and then other times it's your mind or your behavior. So what do you do in state regeneration? You have to, if you're opening that door, and it's not going to be just ridiculous, playtime with the kids, you've got to see the emptiness of your body, your mind, your speech, all of your behavior, emptiness of inherent nature as I or mine. But that's not enough. That's a way to clean the table. You need to shut down the own operating system down to zero, right? Because it's defective and it only perpetuates suffering. You need to shut the whole thing down and then load a new program. And that is out of emptiness. And then to help you in this extreme makeover, you need to visualize yourself in a different way and sustain that visualization as consistently as possible, the pure vision, whether it's Tara, Manjushri, what have you. And then your speech, to always be viewing your own speech as nothing other than the speech of a Buddha and observing everything that comes to mind as Dharmakaya. And then one might very easily say, but I can't, I've got so many mental afflictions. They're mental afflictions from the perspective of sentient being. If I can say so, stupid, There's mental afflictions from the perspective of sentient being. But that was the whole idea. If you haven't dissolved that yet, then go back to square one and dissolve that again. Because if you're viewing your mental afflictions from your ordinary perspective, they will be mental afflictions forever. You've got to view them from a definite perspective. So shamatha would be a good start. And then if some kind of an anger, craving, or delusion comes up, you see it as luminosity, bliss, and non-conceptuality. Problem solved. They're detoxified. But of course, that's just a halfway house. Where we're really going is to view so-called mental afflictions, and I do say so-called, from the perspective of Rigpa. So anger arises, which to another person, if they could have clairvoyance from their, imagine that you're a Vidyadhara, And another person with ordinary perception is having clairvoyance of your thought. They will see a mental affliction. You're viewing the same thought, the same impulse, from the perspective of Rigpa, and you see it as mirror-like primordial consciousness. Another person, Gachi is now having some craving, some attachment. And Gachi resting in Rigpa says, yeah, that's fine, that's your problem. But from my perspective, this is primordial consciousness of discernment. This is the display of Buddha mind. And then some kind of delusional state of mind comes up. Another person says, you're having delusion. And then from Gachi's perspective as a Vidyadhara, this is the primordial consciousness of the absolute space of phenomena. So-called same reality and seen totally differently. And that's because none of them are inherently existent. Not the mental afflictions. No, that's only from a perspective. Not just luminosity, bliss, non-conceptuality. No, that's just the perspective from substrate consciousness. And are they inherently those three types? No, they're not inherently that either. Primordial consciousness itself is empty, not inherently existent. It transcends the very categories of existence and non-existence. Right? So, we can complain forever about our bodies and about our minds. And that's what we'll do. We'll just complain and feel discouraged and frustrated, and I'm not making progress and blah, blah, blah. And in this age, in this era, which is really in so many ways breathtakingly degenerate, my sense is, I think, for really profound realization, like of the great masters, some of whom we've met, and others we read about over the centuries, I think the only really effective way to go, I'm speaking as a Tibetan Buddhist, is we've just got to just let it go. Basta. With a whole sense of ordinary identity. It's just such a crappy platform. It's always been crappy. But in 19th century Tibet, maybe it's kind of like happy crappy. Or classical India, time of Nalanda, Vikramashila, mellow bodh-acha crappy. But ours is just crappy. It's materialistic crappy. It's really awful crappy. And so, basta. And just whatever it is, you think you're a good person, a scoundrel, you think you're really smart, you think you're really stupid, pretty, ugly, and so forth and so on. Basta. It's all conceptually constructed. See that, for heaven's sakes, and deconstruct, and just die. Just release it, deconstruct it into the empty nature of your own awareness. And resting there in your best approximation of Dharmadhatu, Dharmakaya, then reinvent yourself with pure vision, with divine pride. A sense of sacred identity is a nice way of saying that. And then have that be your platform. I think it's the only hope. Really. Maybe even for achieving shamatha. That's just my sense. It's just my opinion. I could be totally wrong. But it just seems, I won't say the only hope. It would say okay, Theravada, you have no chance. I wouldn't say that. But in terms of most viable, most practical, where the platform itself is helping you rather than hindering you, they're really helpful. So that's what he's saying here. Discover the jewel hidden beneath the pillow. Make that your top priority, to establish a new base camp, not just shamatha, but to rest in, to identify and rest in the ultimate reality of your mind, the connate Dharmakaya, which is primordially present in you, but is like the jewel left beneath the pillow. As a result of not realizing the existence of the Dharmakaya in yourself, you wander in samsara. Just as the friend recognized the jewel and then made offerings, here, due to an introduction by a holy guru, you realize the ultimate reality of your mind as the Dharmakaya, and then your own and others' welfare is bountifully accomplished. There it is. So this is immediately relevant to the practice we're about to do. And that is, here's another one. I've been listening to people for a long time, and I've been listening to my own mind for a long time. I don't feel I'm a very loving person. I don't feel I'm a very compassionate person. And then just get any commentary you like to that. I don't feel I'm very empathetic. I don't feel. Yawn. Oh boy. You don't really want to be a Dharma teacher. You hear the same old story so many times. And each time, We try to be nice, but it really gets really tired after a while. Just to say the same old thing. Oy, oy, oy. I get it. I mean, I know it from myself. I don't have to learn it from other people. But, give it a rest. Release it. 21st century Eurocentric or modern mind is a crappy platform for developing loving kindness and compassion. We are so hammered by some real dark sides of Christianity, original sin, you're screwed, your mind is a den of iniquity, you're fallen, only somehow somebody outside of yourself can help you, you're such a sinner, screw you. The dark side of Christianity. You get it from the dark side of psychoanalysis, Freud, it's just your libido, your death wish, you don't really have any virtues, unconditional love is inconceivable, not possible, don't fool yourself, stupid. And just manage your neuroses, you're not going to do any better than that. And then we have the help from the biologist saying, you're an animal, stupid, you're just an animal, don't expect anything better, every impulse you have is just genetically designed to help you procreate and, survive. And then we have people on artificial intelligence telling us, you're just a robot, you're just a robot, you're just a robot. This is not exactly helpful, from all sides. I just covered philosophy, science, psychology, and religion. This is a rotten century to be in. So I would just say, don't be here anymore. It's a crappy century. In many respects, very important respects. It's an awful century. And so just say, okay, I'm taking a break. I'm going to dissolve the world. I'm going to dissolve all of that. Dissolve my body, my mind. I'm going to dissolve it all into emptiness. And I'm going to come from a timeless space, untinged by the whole of recent history, including my own recent history. And I'm going to start afresh. And I'm going to come from a pure place. I'm going to rest in a pure place that is untouched by all of this. And then the hounds yapping at the gate may say, escapism, escapism, escapism. And the answer is, you're right. I'm escaping from samsara. If you like it there, enjoy yourself. But it's the samsara of your construct. And my samsara is of my construct. And I'm just tired of it. Basta. I'm going to deconstruct my samsara. I created it, I can destruct it. Destroy it, deconstruct it. And from the perspective, melting, dissolving into your best facsimile. Do your best, that's all. It's not just say, be a Vidyadhara right now. Probably can't. Your best facsimile. Whether by simply resting in awareness and simplicity, as in the Mahāmudrā Dzogchen route, or resting in the sense of sacred identity and pure vision, the stage regeneration route. Either way, find a new platform. And from that platform, then develop great loving kindness, where the platform itself supports you, nurtures you, empowers you, rather than dragging you down at every moment. And it's said too, so often we've heard this said, in solitude, in solitude, in solitude. I was told by one Lama years ago, for a stage regeneration practice, oh, you really want to go into solitude. If you're really serious, not just doing a little daily sadhana and going blah, 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 or maybe, a little bit of visualization, and then, okay. But if you're serious about really proceeding along the stage of regeneration, say, go to solitude. Because the problem is every time we come out, if you're living in this 21st century, again, maybe if you're living in a monastery in Tibet 200 years ago, it could be somewhat different. But in this century, step off the cushion. And everybody around you, most likely, unless they're really good spiritual friends who share your view and so forth, step off the cushion. The people around you don't even recognize mental afflictions as mental afflictions. I was at a conference at Stanford years ago that I helped to organize. And the psychologists, they were saying, well, desire is afflictive only if it's too much. And anger is a problem only if it's too much. And ego, arrogance, that's a problem only if it's too much. It was only a matter of quantity. If it's excessive, then okay, now you're, reeled in, you're too egomaniacal or megalomaniacal, or you're too addicted, or you're too angry. You need some anger management, some ego management. You need some craving management to get back to a simmering level that Freud would smile at. You're now mildly neurotic, and don't hope for anything better. It's like we're in this pot of boiling oil, and when anybody tries to escape, they just pull you back in again. It's the glorification of mediocrity. Really? This is the best you can ever hope. Be a good animal. Be a happy robot. Be a mildly neurotic person who doesn't draw attention to yourself because you're so neurotic. So, every time you step out, friends, family, loved ones, so forth, who are not practicing the Dharma, they just pull you back in again. What are you doing? What are you doing, stupid? Oh, what are you watching your breath for? What are you, stupid? You're imagining yourself as a deity? What are you, crazy? They won't get it, and they're going to pull you back every single time, unless you're really strong. So it's helpful to have some solitude, just to get some space. Start a new platform. Let's meditate. Just a very brief footnote to this parable. You'll note that the stone was dirt encrusted and hidden, so veiled multiple levels. Yeah, that metaphor is found in the Uttara Tantra, whether it's a jeweled Buddha hidden in a dirty rag and so on. So it's the same metaphor, and it runs through all the teachings on the Buddha nature in the Sutrayana, right through Vajrayana and Dzogchen. But in Asanga's commentary to the Uttara Tantra, one of the 5 works of Maitreya that really highlights Buddha nature, it's the classic among the commentaries. In its commentary to it, I read this years ago, but about 25 years ago or so, really struck me that in the foundational teachings for applications of mindfulness, for example, with respect to the body, you're overcoming the delusion of seeing that which is impure, the body, as being pure, right? You're overcoming that. You're seeing the impure as impure, the impermanent as impermanent. That which is dukkha, it's dukkha, and that which is not self, is not self, right? So very straightforward, common ground. And then Asanga, in his commentary to this, Uttara Tantra, he turns it all on its head. Once you've realized that, that's where again there's a path, a sequence here. If you skip the first one, you'll just be totally delusional. It's like not really fathoming the emptiness of yourself, still holding to that, at least quietly, like privately, and then thinking, I'm Manjushri. Oh, then you may as well think you're Napoleon. You're just flat out delusional. Really, just flat out delusional. Kernel of corn, Napoleon, Manjushri, all the tomatoes, you're delusional, right? If and only if you've realized the emptiness. So if and only if you've realized the impurity of your own body and so on, and you tap down to the level of Buddha nature, then you see, this is pure. We mistake the impure for the pure. Having recognized the impure as the impure, you cut through that, seeing it's not inherently, remember we had that yesterday, not only inherently pure or impure. Then you cut through that. You go from the coarse level to realizing the emptiness of it, and then you go down to the ground. And you see the pure as the pure. You see, that where you got deluded, there is something pure. Primordially pure. Magnificent, absolutely pure. It's your own Buddha nature. Right? And then, while we grasp onto our looks, our intelligence, identity, possessions, and so forth, relationships as being stable, enduring, well, no, get over it. See the impermanent as impermanent. Then see it's none of these things are intrinsically permanent or impermanent. That's the Vipashyana, the Madhyamaka emptiness realization, right? Then you go down, you cut through to proceed in awareness. You say, but this is unborn. This is unborn. This is unceasing. This is undying. Right? So you have unborn, you have permanent, as in the sense of not subject to momentary rising. And then we have the third one, thinking, oh, my girlfriend, she just makes me so happy, she's a true source of happiness, or my looks, or blah, 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 See that which is not by nature sukha as for what it is, unsatisfying. You see that first. Then see it's neither inherently dukkha or sukha. Good. You got that one? A path here, and now cut right through. And you say, this is sukha. This is connate, unchanging, immutable bliss. This is sukha. Now I found it. Right? And then finally, the fourth one. You think, oh, this is not really me, this body here, this is not really me, this is not really my thoughts, not really my cell phone and so forth. Good. And then see, it's neither inherently mine nor not mine. Neither entity nor non-entity, neither me nor not me, neither one inherently. Cutting through that, as we had yesterday from Shantideva, cutting through. And then we see the meaning of this Dzogchen analysis of the Second Noble Truth. Come to know who you really are. And it's Rigpa looking into the mirror and seeing Rigpa. Rigpa knowing Rigpa. And now you know who you are. And now you see, oh, I don't need to achieve enlightenment. There's nothing to achieve. Because finally, I see what I was not, and I recognize who I've always been. And then you just rest in that. And that's not meditation. Because there's nothing to do, and nothing to achieve. Just rest there, and let it sink in until it's fully manifest, with no obscurations. So as you may tell, I have a lot of confidence in this path, even for those people as screwed up as I am. You know, I have hope. So if there's hope for me, there's hope for all of you. I'm serious, really. If there's hope for me, then there's hope for you. Right? Well, that's so. Enjoy your day.